Glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. What has caught your attention in the automotive world?
You know, the fact that we are turning the page again onto a new year, and it'll be interesting to see how the auto manufacturers respond to a changing of the administration. We're already starting to see signs of some of the things that they're doing. I think that 2025 model years, 26 model years, as they come out more specifically, you're going to see a bigger variety of hybrids offered. I think you're going to see a lot of the manufacturers really steering back into the hybrid technology.
Okay.
And I think that that will be a good place for the industry to be for a while as they continue to build out the new technologies for electric and the infrastructure continues to build out for electric. And there can be a better melding of the industry than it just seemed like the fast forward path we were on.
I wonder if I worked in the auto industry, if I were a mover and a shaker, but me, still just me. I wonder when I would start to say, well, I'm going to wait to do that work until we find out who the next president is.
Well, I think that's kind of what Toyota did.
Because I'd be doing that, I'd be like March the year before the election.
Well, and the other piece of this puzzle that's just from a world standpoint, world auto production, just the fact that it's been announced, it's not a secret, that Honda and Nissan are sitting down at the table for possible merger talks. You know, and I think of myself as my 25-year-old self just getting into this full time. I would have never imagined a day where Honda and Nissan wouldn't have been always their own thing. But we'll see where that goes. But part of the reason they're doing that is that they want to combine resources on electrification. You know, Nissan had a big leap on that with their Leaf. I could have said Leaf on it, but that was one of the first big manufacturers to go very deep into electric. And so now it'll be their continued evolution of technology. And then, Honda didn't push real fast on it. They also kind of waited a little bit. You don't see them with any mainline models. They had their Honda Insight out there, and they had a few other things that they've played with, but not they were hybrids are great for them. But it's just kind of interesting. It'll be interesting. I just think that there's going to be 25, 26 are going to show us a lot again on another shift, and I'm looking forward to see how that plays out.
They asked Honda, and Honda said, well, Nissan really thinks inside the box. Get it? Because the guy went in the box to escape the...
Yeah, okay.
Remember the... Okay, that's an inside joke there.
Yeah,
that is a deep Nissan... That's some deep Nissan humor there.
Kind of like when you guys threw Schrödinger's cat at me.
You're right. Schrödinger, yeah.
Schrödinger. See, I don't even remember whose cat it was.
It's fine. Was the guy inside the box alive, or he was alive and then he got arrested? All right, let's take a call. 866-594.
He's out there yet.
4150. Is he in custody?
I don't know. I know they interviewed him recently somewhere, but I don't know if he was in jail or still in a box or on a border between two countries, just standing in a neutral territory.
Talking real quiet.
Yeah, I don't
into
know.
The phone.
Can't say much. Here's what we were doing.
I'm at the airport. Let's go to Nebraska and talk to Jerry. Jerry, you're on the Under the Hood show. What can we do for you?
Well, I've got this Buick Lacross 2011. And when I hit the button, a lot of times all it will do is click. And if I continue hitting the button, it will eventually kick on and start. Okay. I visited with some mechanics and a dealer about it, and they say that it won't show a code, and that they would just have to spend time troubleshooting in order to figure out what it is, and that it might be a half hour, might be 5 hours.
Well, there's a faster and smarter way to get this checked out. The fastest and smartest way for what you have, seeing that you had a click, would be to have them get a voltmeter out.
Push button start is the part that got cut off there, right?
Yeah, it's a push button start. Okay. So you got to push the buttons on everything's going to that now.
Mm-hmm.
They claim the reason they're doing that, a lot of it has to do with generational change. Everything's got a push button, right? On, off, IO, 10, push the button to start it. So that to make people feel more comfortable, they went with this push button start and got rid of the key. I kind of like the key, but whatever. If they just click, the first thing I do, because we've seen so many do this, is I get a voltmeter out and I hook it to the starter. And I've got one that shows two things at once. So I've got one on the main starter, the battery terminal, and I've got one on the starter exciter wire, the smaller one. And then I've got one hooked right to the battery ground. And I try to start it, and I look and I see, and I say, look at that. I've got battery voltage of 13.1, and I hit the button. Oh, now I've got 12.9 there on the exciter wire. Nothing changed on the main power wire. Oh, look, I got a bad starter. But if I hit the button and it goes click and the main power wire drops down to 0 or a couple volts, I know I don't have good power on that main power wire, probably a bad battery terminal connection.
And none of this is going to throw a code, just like they said. This is all in the base system.
It's normal. Okay. So if I hit the button and I get a click, but I don't have anything on the exciter wire, well, I know I got a problem either in the starter relay or somewhere between in the wiring, because I do have a click. I've got to check the relay and see if we've got power and things like that there. So that's how you check that system. But with a 2011 Lacrosse, you're probably looking at a bad starter. Its starter's probably just failed, and what you've got is the click that we had 30, 40, 50 years ago, where we turn the key and it just goes click, 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 and eventually it starts. But with a push button, it's more to it than that. You push the button once, and it tries to engage the starter, and it holds it there for 10, 15 seconds. So if you keep hitting that button, nothing's going to happen. It's still in this I'm starting mode, but then it'll shut off, and you're still hitting the button, so it'll try again and give you another click. It's just a slow motion turning the key by hand, click, 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 until it finally fires. I'll bet they're going to find the starter is out. If someone were to open the hood and listen real close to the engine where the starter's located there on the transmission, I bet they hear that click really loud and hard, like it's got a starter out. That'd be my guess.
It will reset after the click. If you wait a little bit, it will do another click and reset.
Which is normal.
It's been doing this off and on for almost 2 years now. Been doing this off and on.
It could definitely be a starter.
When the starter kicks in, it sounds normal. It cranks right over. Doesn't sound slow or anything.
Sounds like that solenoid's engaging, but the contacts are not making a good contact. They're carboned up over after all these years.
Is this one where we would talk about the brushes and flat spot and AFX cars?
Probably
we
not.
could.
Okay, that probably not. You
Not
say?
in this one.
We still
Dang
could. Just because we want to, Chris.
Yeah.
This is probably just carbon buildup on those terminals for the solenoid. I think it's probably going to end up needing a starter. I mean, it is a 2011. It's a couple years on it.
So if this were your car and you didn't have any tools and you had to bring it to someone, what would you do? Would you put a starter on, or would you say, hey, get the voltmeter and check it?
Yeah, most of the people I know would just throw a starter on it and try it. Make sure the battery terminals are clean and the battery's good. But if it's been doing it this long, I would say, just double check those terminals, but then probably throw a starter on it. That's what most people are going to do.
Jerry, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Pennsylvania and talk to Harry. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Harry, what can we do for you?
Well, I'm looking for some advice on a 2016 Lincoln MKX 6-cylinder. I bought it about 2 months ago. I drove 1,100 miles to a spot in Florida that I stay at. I left it sit for 2 weeks. When I came back to it, I couldn't get in the car. I thought it was the fob. And when I finally started jump starting it and everything, we looked into the back of the car, and the motor for the sunroof seems to have short-circuited and burned the wiring from the sunroof motor back down to almost the tailgate, burned through the material and everything. And I have no idea who I should take it to get fixed, or if it's even fixable.
All right. So step one on this, we're gonna start right here.
Buy a fire extinguisher.
It's a 16. I would.
Right.
I'm just guessing, but I'm probably guessing on the positive side. This car still has full coverage insurance on it, correct?
And that would be, we have an argument over that too. The insurance doesn't want to cover it.
They should.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got a car that burned up,
Right.
you're right. You're right on the edge of something, because if it burned to the ground, they definitely cover it, and then they try to find out
Right.
why. But if it burned up, and like, it's the same thing as saying, "Hey, my motor failed in my car. I want it covered by insurance." Well, they won't cover that. But if you drove through a big puddle and it was flooded with water, they would cover that. So it's kind of a gray area. You might want to keep trying and see, because your fix for this car is if it burned that far, is going to cost you. One, let's just start at the beginning. I don't think any shop is going to want to try to fix it, and the reason is they can take it apart and they can fix the wiring and they can put a new sunroof motor in it, which in itself, let's just say it's burned down to the first part of the rear wiring harness, probably $5,000 or more for a repair. Now, if they fix that and put it together, they're not going to want to assume the liability that it might happen again, because they have no idea why it happened in the first place. The car was turned off and it just decided it was going to activate that sunroof motor and keep it activated until it got so hot it caught on fire. Nobody's going to want to touch it. I definitely wouldn't touch it, because I have no idea what would turn that on, unless I knew, if you said, well, yeah, they were putting a stereo in it and they drilled a hole through the cable or whatever, or they were putting an accessory on it or whatever they did to cause that. I want to know the cause of it. And you're not going to find that cause very easily. It's something that's controlled through that rear body module. And it probably has a failure in it.
You think it would be hard to bypass the sunroof motor and just wire the car so it could run?
Well, you could. I don't know what burned back there, how much, but you could. It may be so simple as it's just the sunroof wiring that's melted, and then you charge up the battery and the car will still run and the sunroof doesn't work anymore. At that point, cut all the wires off that operate the sunroof and cap them all off, tape them up so they're not going to anything. That could be done. But have you tried to start the car yet?
Oh, it's completely dead. There's no.
But have you tried to
power?
Have you tried to charge it up?
No, not really.
Okay.
Somebody said there was a electrical fuse that I might have blown.
Well, it could have blown that fuse, but I think, if it was in our shop, the first thing we would do would be to grab a fire extinguisher. Then we'd charge
outside.
Yeah. Then we'd make sure the battery, we'd put a jump pack on it to power up the vehicle and see if it runs, because it's very possible that it just melted all the wiring to the sunroof and the car will still run. If it does, at this age and you want to save some money, just have them disconnect that sunroof, have them cut the wires off.
Another piece of advice, I guess I'm going to go along Russ's line. I would ask again for the insurance company on a comprehensive loss. This, to me, seems like it would be a loss. I don't think this is a
Fixable.
I think it's an insurance loss.
Maybe it was, quote, struck by lightning when you were gone.
Well, whatever it might be, I think it's a comprehensive loss. And I also think I would contact the Ford dealer, the Lincoln dealer, and ask somebody from Lincoln to come out and look at it. Even though it's an older car, they might have something going on in the background that they're aware of. Or if you get on an online forum, you might see, this happened to a few other people. Because these are the types of things that NHTSA and other people want to know about if it's a repeatable thing. Who knows? Maybe this car's had work done to it, like Russ said, and you don't know it. Maybe it was repaired at one time and some wires got routed wrong and something got pinched. There's a lot of things that we don't know. But those are the things we do know that you could try.
Harry, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. It seems like a process here.
Yeah, and I think it's very plausible that you could take that out of the circuit and still use the car.
Okay.
But you got to check some things out.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. If you're storing a car over winter, we had this discussion and we've had a couple calls on this. What do you do?
Well, there's all sorts of stuff. So our partner over at Berkeley One Classics has gone through this several times because they want you, they want you to drive your car if you can. They give you year-round coverage so you can at the same price. But if you're going to store it, which a lot of their northern climates have to do, those customers, the clients, it depends on the length of time. It can be literally nothing at all. You got an old car with no drain from a computer or anything, you just pull it in the garage, turn it off. If it's sitting for 2 months, 3 months, yeah, no problem at all. As long as you're going to drive it often in the warmer months, then you don't have to worry about the fuel or anything. But now if you're going to be, like, let's say around our area, it could be stored anywhere from 4 months to 7 months, depending. Or you might not drive it when summer comes right away.
That's the thing is, even if I still had my summer car, I would still be driving it because we haven't had the snow and the ice yet.
Right. You get a nice day, you're going to drive it. But if you're going to store, a lot of people do store stuff for a long time. And we'll just say anything that you think feels long-term storage, the first thing you need to do is put a battery maintainer on it. You want to get a good one that will not just, you don't want to charge the battery, you want to maintain it. Ultima battery chargers make great batteries. The Battery Shop on YouTube, that will tell you all about batteries, storage, charging, all that stuff.
And that might be channel. That's probably for most people, that's all you need to do to store your car.
That's the main big thing. The other thing is fuel system stabilizer. If you got a car you don't drive that much, well, let's say you're only going to put 500-600 miles a year on a car. Well, how much gas is in that tank for how long when? Let's say we fill it up in the fall. We store it for 4 months. And then we drive it for 200 miles in the next 12 months. Well, it's probably still going to have some old gas in there. And you want to put stabilizer in the tank. You want to make sure that it doesn't turn and clog up things.
Which, if you do any additive in your tank, if you look, I think most of the stuff that I've ever looked at has fuel stabilizer in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
To a certain extent, but not the degree of a dedicated stabilizer like a Stable or one of them. I mean, those are the ones, they have perfected that chemistry on those things.
And if
or have they just perfected the marketing?
They've perfected it in my eyes because I use it and it works.
Right. And if you forget and don't do that and you let it go and it starts to get a little gummed up, or if you're fearful it may have got a little bit gummed up, you can put some BG fuel system cleaner in the tank and drive it. But the stabilizer is important. It's important to keep that thing, keep it clean in the first place. It's easier to keep something clean than to clean it. It can be done. It can be done, but at what cost? I mean, maintain it along the way with the fuel system cleaner too.
I think the most important thing to me is that with specifically the stable is you get to squeeze it and it does that thing where it puts the right amount over in the other side of the bottle. You know what I'm talking about.
It's very satisfying.
That's the most important thing to me. I mean, if you said, here's some stabilizer that works great, it's in a bottle, pour it in. Or
do you remember your first experience with that squeeze bottle? Do you remember where it first came from?
I remember it went all over because I didn't know how it worked. And
I remember back in the 80s, they had this. It was the mouth thing. You squeeze the bottle.
Mouthwash.
Oh, yeah.
It was Plax or something. Act. There you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
They came out with that.
Oh my.
Back in, because I remember them talking about like fuel stabilizers and stuff where you got to mix it, and there was some kind of a trademark thing on that device going back to teeth cleaning.
I remember I wanted that.
It's like from the
like, Mom,
early
can we get that? She's
80s.
like, just brush your teeth. You're fine. Just brush your teeth.
And Chris names it. I was like, man, I was thinking
That's
something.
I always wanted it. That and AIM. I always wanted the AIM toothpaste.
With the multicolor?
No, that was
AIM
AIM was blue.
Aquafresh.
Aquafresh was the
with the flavor crystals.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us, yes, it's an automotive show.
Yeah,
we have fun with our 80s, 70s,
And now,
90s.
Poor Brandon in Mississippi. We're going to talk to him, but now we're up against a break already, so we have to.
And he wants to
take
talk about
the
a
break.
78
But we have fresh
F-150.
breath.
We have the freshest breath. Brandon, hold on. When we get back, you're going to discover some real fresh breath. It's going to be quite a treat for everyone. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150.
When all else fails, get a bigger dead blow hammer.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel, and if you subscribe there and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Cora Jonas from Mississippi. Congratulations from everybody here under the hood and our friends over at Berkeley One Classic, celebrating 50 years of collector car insurance. Come see us at Barrett Jackson in January. We'll be back.
That's right.
And Universal Technical Institute. Great time to think about starting that new career. It is January 2025. New year, new career.
That's weird.
Marine mechanics, welding, CNC machining, automotive, of course, motorcycle mechanics. Check them out today. Go to Universal Technical Institute, which is uti.edu.
I wonder what UTI does with this, like with we were just talking about earlier, electric cars and whether it's going to change, and then hybrids. That must be a challenge for them to.
Well,
keep up.
they're teaching it, I'm sure, because it's not going away.
Right.
No,
It's
But-
here.
depending on what part of the country you go to,
Yep.
I noticed I went back home to a place, and I noticed a hatred of electric cars that I have not experienced in my life yet. I mean, there's a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't like them." This deep in the oil country in the forest, oh no,
I bet.
you don't drive an electric car.
What if it's
It was not
Cybertruck?
just you could no.
Okay.
I didn't see any. I mean, I did not see a single one in 3 days of anything electric. And when I heard,
Did you guys go through
somebody-
Dallas?
No, Dallas got a lot of electric.
Yeah.
I'm talking about East Texas,
Yep,
deep in the woods.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they were
Where
like,
they got to pump sunshine in?
where you got to pump sunlight back there. You're so far in the woods.
You see, we didn't go through Dallas. We went through East Texas.
But I'm telling you what, people when that came up, well, what about those electric things? And I said, huh? And they just went off like those are horrible. Nobody wants one. Nobody has one. Where are you going to plug it in? You're going to shut the whole place down with your electric. Yep.
They're touchy down there about their electric in Texas.
Well, when you stand in a parking lot and there's 30 cars there and 29 and a half of them are jacked up diesel powered F-350s, you better not talk about
just don't ask.
electric vehicles.
Let's go to Mississippi and talk to Brandon. Brandon, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Well, man, I was having a problem with a 78 F-150. It's four-wheel drive, but having some brake issues. At first, I had the proportion valve go out on it, and since I've replaced that, I seem to have problems with, I think my brakes are dragging on the front, which this wasn't happening prior to the proportion valve going bad. But everything on the brake system is new except for the master cylinder and the booster. And I don't know what to do if I need to replace those two things or where I need to start at.
Does it have new front brake hoses on it?
It does.
All right. That's a start, but you still got
And
the
I've
original.
changed the proportion valve twice,
Okay.
thinking that I may have got a bad part to start with. But
That would
it's
make
still doing the
sense.
same thing.
Yeah, it makes sense to me if it didn't do it before, but now it does. But you did have to bleed the brakes. So there is a chance that we had some failure in the master cylinder. You got an old master cylinder, you had to push the pedal down. It went farther than normal. It could have folded over the rubber seals inside of the diaphragms inside of there and caused it to not release pressure all the way when the pedal comes up. So here's what I want you to do. Step on that brake pedal a bunch of times until you can get those front brakes to start to drag. You should sometimes, like in our shop, we'll just put it in drive, roll a foot, and put it in neutral, and just we can kind of feel it. Does it coast and just keep going and going and going across the parking lot, or does it feel like the brakes are on and it stops pretty quick? If it does that, then I just hop out with it in neutral and just turn it off real quick, and I kind of try to push it. I grab the tire, and if I'm like, yeah, it's sticking, then I'll get a wrench and crack open the the line right at the master cylinder. Just open it up and close it. Now, if it rolls good, I know the master cylinder is bad. And it should be the rear line on that master cylinder that goes to the front goes to the rear, the way they're set up. You'll have the larger portion of it, which is in the rear, goes to the disc brakes on the front, and then the smaller goes to the drum brakes in the rear. So it takes more fluid to move them. So I would do that. I would crack that line open and see if the brake drag goes away. But if it only drags after you've been driving it on the road and then it's gone after a few seconds, it's going to be really difficult to find. But I'll bet.
No, it doesn't go away. It stays
good.
there.
That's good for you, because it's like us mechanics when we're working on stuff and we say we got to see it happen. Good. If you see it happen, crack it open and see what happens. Now, if it is the master cylinder and you replace it, you do have a slight chance that maybe you've burned up your brakes in the front. They could be glazed over really bad because of this, and they may not recover from that. Sometimes you can lightly sand the rotor and clean them up a little bit and have that problem go away. But if they've been dragging a lot, sometimes they got to be replaced again. But I'm leaning towards that master cylinder.
Okay. What about the booster? You think it's fine?
But yeah, see, I'm looking at something. If it happened right after you put that proportioning valve on, I got to think of what would cause that. And the only thing I can think of causing that, other than a coincidence, which could be a booster, is probably that master cylinder. Because when you bleed it and you push that pedal down, if it goes too far, these little rubber pistons in there, diaphragms, they will fold over the wrong way. And then when you let up on the pedal, you may still have brakes that apply, and they may still work. But if they fold it over, they don't come all the way back past the bleed off port in there, and they do not release the pressure from the brakes because they're folded over. And if they can't release the pressure, you're always going to have that drag. Some drag. You won't have, a couple 1,000 pounds of pressure to apply the brakes, but you got enough to drag the brakes.
Oh, these things, it's like each time you press the pedal, a little bit more pressure stays in there till eventually the brakes just completely lock up.
That sure sounds like that master cylinder. Just crack that bleeder valve open and see if it goes away. If you want to verify that it's definitely not the booster, then before you crack that line open and release those front brakes,
here comes some brilliance we heard on the show for the first time here a year ago.
Take the two nuts loose that hold the master cylinder to the booster. You're not going to get any fluid leaking then. And just pull the master cylinder away from the booster a half inch. And if the brakes release, you got a problem with the booster. If they don't release, bolt it back on.
And I think in the case when Russ first brought that up, somebody had replaced the master cylinder, and fairly certain they may have gotten the wrong master cylinder. And it had a different size arbor or something on the end.
Yep.
And it didn't allow the rod to fit in just perfectly, and it was putting extra pressure on that it wasn't originally designed to have when it was resting. So I think that was something, because you probably put that master cylinder on there at the same time as you put the proportioning valve on. Figure you just do it all at once?
No,
Okay.
it's the proportion valves up underneath it's in the bottom of underneath the cab.
Okay, but you did you still got, Russ thought you said then you had the original master cylinder.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said all new brakes, so that's
everything but the master cylinder and the booster's new on the brakes.
78 F150. That's definitely a Berkeley
the
One
booster,
classic.
Yeah, it is. The booster's new, so could have got the wrong booster.
Yeah, they could have sent the wrong one.
Well, the booster's not new either. The booster and the master cylinder are the original.
Well,
I'm going to quit guessing. I'm going to quit guessing. I'm going to quit guessing what's new. Well, Russ hit this right on the head. This is a Berkeley One classic. We saw so many 73-9 F-150s down at Barrett Jackson for the fall sale, and we're going down there again for the winter sale, the big one.
January 24th, we'll be doing the show live there. So
yeah, and we're going to see some F-150s, but we got to guess the color on this one as a Berkeley One classic. And can I ask? Oh, I can't ask any questions, can I?
I think
It's
you can
bronze.
ask.
Well, I want to know what motor it has in it.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does.
What motor does it have in it, Brandon?
The 351M.
That's what I thought.
Original? I mean, that's what the truck
Okay,
came with?
this truck is two-tone, and it is green and white.
Green and white?
It's just bronze.
Just
all
bronze. All bronze. I'm going red and white.
Brown bronze.
Yeah. Brandon, what color is it?
It is brown.
Oh, Russ is on it.
Huh.
You know why I say that?
Nailed it.
Because the F-150s I can picture that my friends had that were 78s back there in Texas, they were bronze.
Yeah,
Well, and every one my dad rebuilt that we worked on as a family were two-tone.
that's always what I do. If I can think of anything like it, I just go with
I
that
always
color.
pick the one that comes to my mind first that I can remember.
Brandon, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Dave in Massachusetts. Dave, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Good morning, guys. Happy and healthy New Year to you three and your families.
Thank you.
Same to you.
Thank you. I got a 2016 RAV4 that has a tire pressure monitor light coming on, and it stays off for the most part in warmer weather, but as cold weather sets in, it blinks first. After you fire the engine, it blinks, and then it stays on. And I've been looking on different websites for a scanner for a Toyota, and it seems like they're special. I was wondering if you guys could enlighten me on that.
I want to dovetail on this. I have a 2013 Toyota Prius, and when it gets cold, the same light comes on and blinks for a while and scares me, and then it stays on, and then I check the tires and they're fine, so then I just ignore it. Dave, if you just keep ignoring it, eventually you'll get a flat, and then you'll have to get it fixed. That's what happened to me last time.
Well, it's the white star. I don't.
That's why I got it
then
fixed.
You'll want to fix it. So those Toyotas are really finicky about their tire pressure monitor systems. When they're working, they're fine and they last a long time. But when they fail, we will only use a factory OEM Toyota sensor in there because we've tried other ones and we've just seem to, the factory is real finicky with them, and I've had a lot of difficulty programming them. I've been able to program some aftermarket Dorman sensors, Autel sensors, things like that, but for the most part, we just stick with the factory ones. I mean, that's what I'm going to do from now on, and that's what we've been doing because they're difficult. But as far as scanners go, you should not have really an issue with any tire pressure monitor scanner, whether it's a scanner from Topdon or from Autel. The scanner should read the tire pressure monitor system. If it's a TPMS scanner, I'm not talking about a regular scan tool to read body codes and engine codes, transmission, things like that. I'm talking about a tire pressure monitor scanner,
like a wand, right? I mean,
it's a little box. It looks like a little remote control, and you just go up. You type in the type of car,
like you're
right
hunting
into it.
for gold.
Yep, and then beep, and it tells you, it gives you that info. But
that sounds more like nuclear material. Yeah, the sound you made.
It'll also tell you how to reset it.
Yikes!
So that's the way to go. And if you pull that tool out and you read it, and it gives you a low battery warning in one or multiple sensors, then you just need to replace all 4 of them. And you could wait until it's tire time to do them, because it's not a real cheap thing you got to take a tire off. I'm sure that people say, well, you could just break down part of the tire and swap it out. Well, sure, you could do that too. But either way, the tire's coming off the car. You're letting the air out. You're breaking it down. Well, what do you think that's going to cost? I mean, they're going to charge you the same amount of money to change the tire as they are to pull that off. So if you're changing tires, if somebody comes in to me and wants 4 tires put on, and they say, put the sensors in 2, what it's going to cost them is whatever those sensors cost. Because when I'm changing tires, I'm relearning the tire sensors anyway, so it costs them.
You're looking right at them. They're off. The tires are off. They're on the rim.
$40 to $90 a sensor, depending on the model. Yeah, so swap them out. But it's a sensor. Sometimes they'll last 15 years or more, but a lot of times they'll last 6 or 7. It's a battery in a tire that's spinning around wildly as you drive, and it goes through cold temps and hot temps. It's amazing how long some of those things will last, but they fail.
Does that help you out there, Dave?
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much for the call. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm all set. Thanks.
Oh, okay. Thanks. I thought you were going to say something else there. Okay.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us. We're going to go to Canada next and talk to Mark. After this break, 866-594-4150.
Some are born with a silver spoon in their mouth. For these guys, it was a torque wrench and a multimeter. This is Under the Hood.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Canada, Toronto, and talk to Mark. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Mark, what can we do for you? Are you there? Oh, let's try again. Mark in Canada. Now you're on. Go ahead.
Sorry about that, guys. Happy New Year to everyone. How's it going?
You too. Pretty good.
It was my fault first, so you're fine. That was,
Okay.
It's the
Excellent.
exchange rate. I was wrong on it. I had the button pushed wrong. Now I got it set for Canada.
Haha. All right. Perfect. Just a question regarding engine oil. I have a Volkswagen diesel. It's a 2013 TDI, and it calls for a specific Volkswagen spec. And the research I've done is that it's due to the DPF and low ash count, et cetera, et cetera. Now, in the summertime, I like to run a bit of a heavier weight, like a 540, that doesn't meet that specific specification. However, I never go more than 8,000 kilometers, which is about 5,000 miles or so between changes. Do you think it's a safe practice, or should I just stick with
No.
the spec? No.
I'm going to say, from all I've learned, don't mess with Volkswagens.
No. Yeah, don't do that. And it's kind of like saying, well, I only run water in my gas tank for a couple miles a year. No. It's cumulative. It will build up as you go. If there is an issue, carbon buildup, that's an issue. It's an issue. You don't, in the DPF, you don't want that. So run the correct oil. But the oils for diesels, quality oils like Mobil, Delvac, name a dozen more of those good quality oils. They're all going to meet that Volkswagen spec. They're all going to be great oils, and they're going to be very low ash. The reason for that is because of the DPF systems and catalytic converters that are on all these diesels. So they run that. I think if I wanted to go out and find a oil that did not meet specs, I'm probably going to have to choose the wrong type of oil, like the wrong weight, something that's not commonly used any longer year-round in diesels, that would give me something that was a heavier ash oil, something that would be used in a tractor or an older truck or something like that. You'll still find those oils out there, and they're less money. But one of the reasons they're less money is, well, because less people are using them. They're not in demand.
It's not so much.
No.
It's not really a price thing. It's just, it's not like I do much towing, but I just feel like a 40 weight in the summertime is gonna be better, being that it's turbo and et cetera, et cetera. And but I guess it does have a Volkswagen spec on it, but it's not the 504, 507 that is called out for this engine, right? So
yeah, but with Volkswagens, whatever it is, diesel or gas, it's important to follow their minimum specs. It's really important to follow it on a gas engine. They've had some problems with oil issues that are things that were caused by oil issues, but with oil burning, and they had some lawsuits years ago from this, and it all came down to, okay, now we're clearly labeling everything, use what we tell you, or we're not going to warranty this engine. I think there was a little blurred lines there when it first happened, and there were some people who thought they should get their engine repaired because they were burning oil, and I think some people did, but there was also some oil stuff going on, where it was like, you're not using the correct oil for this vehicle. So I would definitely stick with the correct spec oil. Even, if it's a different brand or whatever, that's fine, but you got to have the right spec oil for it.
When you talk about, Mark, does that help you out? Oh, Mark's gone. When we talk about that, and we talk about how they don't necessarily put the manual in there anymore, and you got to find out what the latest, can I just call a Volkswagen dealer and say, hey, I have this car, what should I be putting in it? Are they going to help me? Where do I find this stuff?
I would hope they would for something like that. They're not going to tell you how to repair your car if it's broken, but if you call and say, I bought a Volkswagen.
What's the current spec for this car?
What should I put in here? They should tell you, and then they should also tell you, for their parts manager's sake, I have it on the shelf. It's this much. Would you like to buy
Right.
some right now? Come on down. I've got it. You might even find that it's cheaper to buy it there than the auto parts store. You never know. So it never hurts to.
But if not,
check.
an independent repair shop with a connected system like Russ has, they have the spec in there as far as for that particular VIN number, what it's supposed to use.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've brought this up a lot on the show, but I'll say it again. As these vehicles get newer and more sophisticated, the engineering level gets higher. They're using highly engineered fluids to build highly engineered equipment.
Don't mess with it.
And so if you're going to be wanting to enjoy the luxury of the highly engineered engine, you got to pay the price for the highly engineered fluids that are a little more money. And it's not the conventional wisdom that we grew up with. We grew up with 1030, 1040, 540. It's just that conventional wisdom is not there anymore because the oil system is involved in crucial operations of the engine, not just lubrication.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Kenneth. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Kenneth, what can we do for you? Oh, yeah, he's there. Kenneth, are you there? All right, Kenneth isn't there. Let me try that again. I think this, now I'm thinking it might not be me. Hi, Kenneth, are you there?
Yeah, I am. Hey,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm calling for a buddy, and we've been working on his truck for a little bit. 2013 Ford F150 with a 5.0. Every once in a blue moon, the battery is completely dead in the morning. So there's a drain someplace. Now, a drain of charge. So we have checked all of the possible fuses that we've pulled them, ran a voltmeter from the negative to the battery. What we've noticed, maybe, is when you put the key in the ignition and you push it forward before turning it, the fuel pump activates. Is that something that's normal?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not
Yeah,
that.
when you start and you turn the key on, it's basically priming the line to make sure that you've got adequate pressure when it gets the command to start.
Okay. So now it's been fine for a couple of weeks. But he's actually gone out in the middle of the night and put the voltmeter on the battery, and, sometimes it's down, but most of the time it gains itself. And it's been completely dead in the morning.
We're up against a break here, hard break. So kind of, what do we do on this?
Well, I'm gonna wrap up here because we've had other calls with people that have this type of vehicle, and they have had power loss issues, and a number of them have come down to cables, where they are not seeing it because it looks good, but inside the cable there's corrosion. So if this thing is draining the battery dead, we got to make sure we got good connections, and it could be a matter of replacing some cables or just at startup. I'm sure you've done it already. Just tightening everything, cleaning everything, just kind of get everything back to square one, fresh again, and then start your process. If the battery is just going dead on its own, and you don't have voltage in the battery, that's one thing. If you can't start the vehicle and there's battery voltage, that's when we start looking at this main cable that goes down to the starter. And that's what we've had problems on some of these F-150s was in that cable. But that case, they had power at the battery, but they were not able to get it started. And so that's something you want to check out. But if it's a drain like that, they can be no fun at all. And you've got to kind of go circuit by circuit to work on them.
That'll be hour 1 of the Under the Hood Show. Hour 2 is coming up next. Does that help you out there, Ken? We were up against a break.
We had to just do a bunch of summarization to get us to the break.
No, I get it. No problem. Hey, I appreciate
Also,
the comeback after the show.
Get in there with the key off or whatever. Listen, if that vehicle has a CD player, which a lot of them don't at that point in life at a 2013, but if it does, they had a huge problem with CD players sticking in
Running
those,
on.
and the mechanisms would just or
trying
they
to
just
get
come
this-
on.
Yeah.
The
It's
ones
trying
with
to
the
get the
6
CD
disc
out or
changer,
in.
yeah, they would turn on by themselves. So you might just say, "Hey, we're going to take your radio out for a month and put it on the floorboard and see if you still have this problem. And if it goes away, you got a bad radio," because I've seen a lot of those do that on these trucks.
There you go, Kenneth. Now we have
So
to.
yeah, because you could pull the radio out and unplug it and see if your problem goes away if you're suspecting that.
Yep. All right, now we'll be back in a minute with.
You're listening to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show with the Motor Medics, Shannon Nordstrom and Russ the Super Tech Evans. Shannon is an ASE engine and parts specialist, and Russ is an ASE Master Certified Technician with extensive factory drivability training. Join the Motor Medics for fun and free automotive advice with real-world solutions to everyday automotive problems. The Under the Hood Show is heard weekly on this and other great radio stations across the U.S. Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
With Russ Evans, this is Shannon Nordstrom, thanking you for tuning in to the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show. Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. Since we last met here, I have received all of my automotive magazines.
Oh, yeah.
And started reading them.
The quarterly Motor Trend?
Yeah. It bums me out.
I like when it comes, but I've realized that I missed it monthly.
Yeah, for sure. Both of the Car and Driver and Motor Trend.
For some reason, I don't always open the links when I get my emails either.
Right. Yeah, they started piling up. So
somebody said to me the other day, I was trying to get a hold of them and they hadn't gotten back to me, and it was something I wanted to follow up on, and apparently it was more important to me than them. That's how it goes.
Sure.
And they said, I think your email drowned, and I'd never heard that term before. I go, drowned? I go, yep, it just sunk to the bottom, it got buried by all the other ones.
See a spam.
Yeah.
The Motor Trend, this issue is the of the year, so it's just listing vehicle after vehicle after vehicle. And I noticed, we've talked about it, and I noticed it for the first time in this magazine, that there's a lot of vehicles going back to the gear shifter on the column, which we've talked about tons of times over the last however long. But I noticed it in like 3 different vehicles that they're shifting on the column.
That has not hit my radar.
Did they ditch the console too?
I guess I don't know the exact situations, but it stood out for me on the couple that I saw.
My guess would be they wanted to put more. I'm just speculating wildly here.
Yeah.
That they wanted to put more features in that center console and not rob it with the shifter.
Well, that shifter takes up a lot of space in there, unless it's a push button or a twist or.
But it seems like such a natural spot for it to be. I don't know.
It does. Yeah, you're right. But so does the column until however long ago. There was a time when the shifting on the floor was unique because everything was on the column.
I would have probably never thought a pickup would have a console shifter.
It still weirds people out when I say, yeah, we used to have the shifter on the column. And they're like, yeah, so? I'm like, and it was a 3-speed. What? What do you mean? Like low second? I'm like, no, you had a clutch pedal and you had a shifter on the column. I wonder how many, if I took your 3 kids and your 2 kids, and I stuck them in a 70 Chevy with a 3-speed on the column.
3 on the tree.
Here's the key.
They would
Can you drive it? If they could drive manual transmission
cars. They would not do it.
See, that's the thing, because it was one of those things where you had to, I remember the first time I drove one, it took me about 2 minutes to figure it out, and then I was fine. But that first initial, and
I'd have to do that again. I have not drove one for a long, long time.
Yep,
I've never driven one. My brother had one when I was a kid.
Back towards you and straight up was always reversed. Straight down is first, and then up and forward and up is second, and then down is third. And they would, if they were timed right, they would move and work like they're supposed to. But, half the trucks I drove when I was a kid, they weren't. When you drove them, they were flopping around. You had to feel for that gear. You know what else they put that column in? Was old Chevy cars. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Like in the Nomads and that kind of thing on the column. That's
our old bomb Suburban was a 3 on the tree. That's how us kids learned to drive. Was right there. We jumped right into it.
That's where those terms came from. 3 on the tree, 4 on the floor.
Speaking of
5 on the floor.
Suburbans, today on my way to work, I was driving on the interstate, and a new Suburban, I'm going to say year or two at least. I mean, it was very new.
The modern version.
Yes. Thing is 70 feet tall.
The front ends look huge when they're behind you.
It pulled up it passed me on the interstate going real fast. They were going real fast because I was going plenty fast, and they were zooming past me. I couldn't see the top of it. Just in the lane next to me, it filled my window out the top, and I couldn't see the top of the Suburban. It's gigantic. I don't know if it was lifted or what, but it was like 14, 15 feet tall.
You take one like Russ has got a Yukon AT4, and they're a tall, big vehicle.
And I was
like
driving
a locomotive going past.
I was driving that through West Texas on an 80-mile-an-hour strip at night, and I had the cruise set on 87 and was just booking right along to get where we were going in the next couple hours. And a probably 21, 22, 3 F350 4-door crew cab, dually, with like a 40-foot oil field trailer behind it, jacked up with like 38-inch tires or so, blew by me like I was standing still in the middle of the night, and I thought, man, welcome home.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Roger. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Roger, what can we do for you?
Hey, guys. Thanks for the entertaining show and all the information. Always appreciate it. Hey, I just wanted a little story here. You beat me to the word 3 on the tree. I used to have an old 68 Ford F100. Let's see, was it 100?
F100, yeah.
And that doggone thing. Yep. When I would go down to the old loop and I would try and race some people, that darn thing. I don't know how many RPMs I got up to when I was stuck in second gear, but that sucker used to stick in the second gear all the time. I'd have to stop, pull the linkage, get it back, and that along with my dual air horn and my 100 decibel stereo system in there, where I had to remove the fuel tank from behind the seat, put it underneath, even to get the speakers back there. I tell you what, man, that was a fun truck, but that darn thing gets stuck in second gear all the time. That was an adventure, I'll tell you that. But that was a lot of fun, guys.
Those were a blast. We'd have to you'd take the shifter, you'd get under the hood, and you'd line the levers up. So you had these little levers. You'd line them up, and you'd stick like an Allen wrench or a nail, 10-penny nail, through the holes in all of them, and then you'd adjust you'd take the transmission linkage loose, and you'd move the rods until they were in the right position, and neutral on the column, neutral down there, and you tighten them up, and that's how you adjust them. But the bushings would wear, and they would stick.
We stocked
all the
shift
time.
Cup and the shift tube behind the counter in our little salvage yard back in the day. We had those available from some foreign manufacturer that made them, and because Ford, they were super expensive, and
it was
they
such
broke.
a simple
They broke
repair,
all the time.
But most people just left them, and they'd get sloppy. But I remember when they get stuck in second gear, a good thing was if you give it enough gas, you could take off in second gear, and it was a high enough ratio that you could drive in second gear up to about, you could drive 50, 55 miles an hour in second gear and it wouldn't explode, but it was running up there pretty good.
Well, he was in second gear on the loop, so he was probably speeding.
Probably.
I mean,
my brother's truck that was 3 on the tree didn't have reverse. So we used to
reverse was just broke.
Yeah. So he would park on the hill, and if he parked we had a slight
that would be
hill
a new
in front
element
of
to
our
try
house.
to teach somebody to use it, and it didn't go anywhere in
Right.
that gear.
Yeah. You just had to roll back. But when he would park on the downhill side, because that was his preferred method, he would park on the downhill so he could just roll out. my other brother would pull in front of him and then reverse back to be bumper to bumper with him. And then that was just it. He was immobilized.
On the roll forward, did he enjoy bump starting it?
Yeah. Because it didn't need a key. You could just get in it, and if you push
second
the clutch,
gear, he could bump start that thing pretty well, I bet.
Yeah, and you didn't need a key because it was too loose and everything, so you could just get in it. I could have gotten in at any time and just rolled it forward.
There's a certain satisfaction
of
bump starting a vehicle.
For sure.
Just, we used to see it at the races all the time, and boy, we thought we had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Just push me. Just push me. We'll see if we can get it going.
Yeah.
Battery's dead. Give me a push.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
I haven't done that for a long time.
I did it about 2 summers ago.
Did you?
In the Pontiac, yeah.
With the Solstice.
Yeah.
Did it work?
Yeah.
I think we talked about that.
Yeah, it was great.
Would that work in his Solstice with the battery dead?
No, you have to have power.
You got to fire the coils.
Yeah, you have to have power to get it going. The only thing that'll work in is if you've got a Dodge diesel like late 80s, early 90 that has the lever.
The mechanical diesel injection pump.
And it's got the lever on the side of that pump. You can pull up and take the battery out of it. You just push it and it'll fire. So that's one of those good prepper cars. If you want something that'll fire with no voltage, you just spin it fast enough and it'll fire up. As long as it's warm enough outside. It gets too cold, it's not going to work.
I think you got to get like up to 92, 90.
No, I mean like if the temperature outside.
No, I'm saying for the Dodge truck.
Yeah, but if it's above 50 degrees, it'll usually fire up if you spin it. But if you spin it fast enough, it'll fire at any temp. Basically, the compression will heat it up. But yeah, that's what people look for in those. You need something with no electronics.
If we get the EMP, if the grid goes down, I'm a dead man. I'm just gonna. There's no way I couldn't get anywhere. I couldn't even ride my bike. My bike's electric. And the thing weighs like 100 pounds if you don't use it. That thing is heavy. I've tried it without the electric. It's too heavy.
You got an electric bike?
Yeah, it's awesome. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Never, ever use your tongue to see if your car battery is good. Seriously, we mean it. This is Under the Hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. What's got your attention over there?
Well, I still finger through the automotive news, and I've got one that's been sitting here, a piece of one since October of 2024 here, but
that was last year.
Wow, that's a long time ago. But there is a story here of Mark Zuckerberg. You know who that is?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Russ, you're aware? Yeah.
Huh? Was he Iron Man? No.
Him and his wife posing with their new Porsches.
Okay.
But Porsche, more than one.
Yeah, but sure. His is just a simple little GT3 911. Nothing, too exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But his wife got a Cayenne Turbo that West Coast Customs stretched, put sliding doors on the side, and turned into a minivan. A Porsche Cayenne minivan.
Okay.
And I found that to be kind of interesting. And so I think that, obviously you got enough money to do whatever you want. I don't know if that would be on my list of things to do with the money, with whatever I want.
Good
but
point.
that's my opinion.
Right.
His opinion was different.
Uh-huh.
But he also had recently made the news for commissioning a piece of art to be made like his wife out in their front of their house.
Huh.
And there was plenty of good jokes about that online. But
you just have to, you got so many billions of dollars that you just have to sit and think of, what, I've got everything. What could I do?
I'll make a minivan.
Yeah.
The GT3 isn't Zuckerberg's daily driver of choice, though, the article says.
I bet.
Asked on Instagram, comment about his favorite vehicle, he replied, mostly my Cadillac CT5V Blackwing these days, but sometimes other things.
Yeah, that would be mine too.
Yeah, the 2020, let's see, my eyes are deceiving me there, 2025 CTS-V Blackwing with 668 horsepower is even more powerful than the Cayenne Turbo GT, and with a starting price of $96,900. $990 with shipping. It costs less than half as much as the Porsche crossover before modification.
Starting price, the ones we see are way more than that.
Well, the one that they messed with was $205,000 before adding sliding door,
Sure.
before having it modified.
Right.
Now about that Cadillac. When we saw one of those things go at Barrett Jackson, they had both a Blackwing and they had that electric one there. And weren't they both 200? Well, the electric one went for $5, didn't it?
Yeah, that was a
500?
first edition of some sort.
That was VIN 1,
Yeah.
I think. It was, but the gas one they had, though, that Blackwing they had, that thing brought $240 or something like that.
Yeah, they bring a lot of money. A very unique car.
It's insane, the difference between let's just call it a custom modified and a stock one. Because you got a Escalade, this much, Blackwing, this much.
Yeah, no, there's the Blackwing. We've got a friend of mine, Barry. I think he just had a social media post that he's got one of his own, and he was putting it away for the winter, and he took it out for a spirited drive before he parked it. And
sure.
And I think we're going to be dismantling one. I think I got one in that we're going to dismantle.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it's twin turbo. Can't remember what size motor it is, but it's a little bit of a hot rod CT5.
Maybe you should
XT5.
Maybe that's the car that we need to. For me, we need to redo for me, and then put the Under the Hood Show logo on the side.
We're still getting that Yugo going. It's going to take a while.
You go, we go.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us.
Another story that's on this. I'm going to do before I go to another story, I had someone call me, and I guess I was going to ask Russ his opinion on this because I gave them advice. And I do it off the air. It doesn't count.
Right. Yeah. You can't. You got to check it. You got to check the work.
Yeah, we had a lady call us that she's just had a rough go of it, and I bought a vehicle from her before the winter started and trying to help out, and now she's gotten herself back into this area, and she's got a Ford Explorer. It's an 05 Explorer.
Okay.
And got a problem with the heat. It apparently the guy that's working on it said that it's not. One person told her it was a problem with the engine thermostat and all this stuff, but it sounds to me that she's got a clicking in the dash, and so that to me got me right in the realm of
Blendor motor.
motor. But have you seen a lot of those Ford Explorers that have broken inside the case?
Not that new.
Okay.
I've never seen one break in the case 04 or newer.
Okay.
That new body, that's body style range? No. Oh, going back like the late 90s, early 2001? Yes. But never on anything newer than that. Could happen, I guess, but I've never seen one.
Yeah, because the budget's just not there to do any repairs. And, if you have the broken, and this happens a lot, you get into heater season, that's where people start saying, oh, my heater's not working right. And we've had somebody call into our show after hours recently and didn't hear our whole scoop about how a heater core can get scaled up and it basically becomes an in and out for hot water.
And you made the mention, then I can see how that can be misconstrued, because you said, has anybody ever looked in a radiator and seen where you've got all those cores and the water goes in one side and it just bypasses? No, we're not talking about radiators. We're talking about heater cores.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a core, it's like you take a radiator, turn it sideways, cut the end off it, and it's standing straight up. Now you've got an inlet and an outlet on one end of the heater core at top, and it's just an open tank. It goes right through. Not a radiator.
So if that heater core,
and that was one where they said they didn't have a bypass. No, we're using that word in the real sense, not as a piece of equipment, but
and I talk fast. I can talk fast and get people confused really easy. But the fact is, I can confuse myself half the time.
Right.
But the fact is that little radiator that's in your dash is basically
heater core.
It's a core that radiates heat. It will get just scummed up over time. And that's why coolant maintenance is important. A lot of people don't follow great coolant maintenance. And there was some vehicles that for some reason, they just had more of a tendency to have the heater core. We see a lot of was it Dodge trucks? You had an era of them.
They're horrible at that. And a lot of that had to do with just natural electrolysis that occurs in the engine, causing pieces of metal to corrode and gradually clog the heater cores. And also the casting. When they make it, some of the sand and things left in the casting will float through there. So yeah, they plug up. I guess if I could go back in time, if I was going to if I owned a Dodge truck now and I could go back to the beginning, the day I bought it, I think I would have maybe taken it home and
Flushed it right away?
it out really good. Flushed the block, flushed the core.
Because there must have been some things left in there, and that's just where it would
I
get
think so.
caught.
And then I would do maintenance on
The
it.
heater core kind of acts like a filter because it goes in and it falls, and the sediment just keeps falling to the bottom, just like sands of an hourglass.
Fills up.
And then
Until the coolant bypasses the core because it's full of garbage.
So that's why when the person that's looking at it, if they take and they've got a heat gun and they shoot your incoming and your outgoing heater lines and they're the same temperature and you got the heater on, it's not
It's just flowing through.
It's just running through.
It's not removing any heat.
Let's talk.
I hope that the problem is just for that lady. I hope it's just a blend door motor, but it's been a tough one.
Let's talk to John. You're on the Under the Hood show. John, what can we do for you?
Yeah, good morning, guys. Love your show, man.
Thanks.
Okay, I got a 2000 Jeep Grand Cherokee with a 4-liter. Runs great and everything. All of a sudden, oil changes have been real regular, and Cenex oil, whatever. And all of a sudden, the oil pressure gauge would fluctuate, real badly. So I put a mechanical gauge on it, and normally it was keeping right around 55, 60 cold. But then with a mechanical gauge on it, occasionally it would drop down to on the gauge even 510 oil pound pressure. So I thought, well, drop the pan on it, and it was clean inside, really, kind of. Put a new oil pump on it, and that puppy does the same thing. And it doesn't do it all, but it does it quite often. But then you can hear the lifters, the rockers, the rockers clatter a little bit. So I just wonder, what is a cam bearing spinning or what?
What's engine's in it?
4-liter.
It is a 4?
4-liter.
Yeah, it's probably shot. You probably got worn bearings in it, cam bearings, main bearings. They're just worn enough that you're losing pressure because you told me you put a pump in it, so then I know the pressure's down. You could, if you're trying to get by just a little longer, you could put a higher pressure oil pump in it so that it has a higher pressure at that low end, and it's not fixing the problem, it's just masking the problem. It's covering it up, but it's a cheaper route than putting an engine in it, and it may go for some time. We would put higher pressure oil pumps in them, or put a different shim in the bypass valve on those back in the 80s on 4 liters from the late 70s and early 80s, even, because they'd wear out like that, and we just up the oil pressure and they kept on hammering along.
With a 25-year-old vehicle, you might as well.
Give it a shot.
The end product is the same no matter what.
Yeah.
John, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to David. You're on the Under the Hood Show. David, what can we do for you?
Hi, guys. I got a 2003 Chevy S10 pickup, 4x4, 4.3 Gore-Tex. I got the ABS battery lights, or the ABS light and the brake light coming on. And it's, I've had a couple scanners put on them, and it's pointing towards the module. Anyway, I checked the ground wire for that, and that looks good. And I pulled the module off, and the pins look good, and put it back on. That light keeps coming on, and the speedometer bounces up and down, and everything's kind of pointing towards the module. I just wonder if there's anything else I should check before I replace the module. They're like about $300 or whatever. I want to make sure I don't throw $300 down the hole.
Did you read the codes for the unit and see what codes are in there?
I don't have them. No.
That'd be a good idea, because if you get a code and it says
the module, the first guy said it wasn't the sensors, but he didn't want to mess with the module.
okay, so he did check it and said it was a module problem.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, then you're fine there. You definitely want to read it. It's probably got a relay code or something in that module. And if it has that, that's the death code for the module. You just got to replace it.
And that because like you were wanting to find out, every wheel has a position that sends a signal. That's new enough to be four-wheel analog brakes. And then you've got a speed sensor that's got to be working right. And you've got, what else goes in? There's not in that system. That's a pretty
speed sensors from the wheels are the main input for that.
And so at that point, if that all is working correct, then you can narrow it down to the module. And you can use a used module in that. And that's getting to be an age where there's a combination of things you're going to be able to do. Be able to get on our partner CarDash part and probably find one right near you quite easily, I would think, and just buy one with a warranty and replace it. Or if you have a self-service facility around and look at interchange, that part is probably going to be very affordable, and you could go pop a module off at a self-service facility and buy it for under $50.
It'll still be there?
Good chance.
Yeah.
And it would still be there, and it'd be the same as others, pickup, Blazer. I think a lot of those had the same modules on them, but that can all be looked up when you do the search on CarDash part. You can kind of get down to what vehicles come up that have one for sale, can kind of give you an idea what the interchange is.
There you go. Okay.
Because it doesn't show you a specific interchange, but you can see, oh, here's somebody selling one off of an 04 Blazer. Here's somebody selling one off an 02 pickup. Oh, I don't see any 01s. I better not get one off an 01.
Right.
So that's a way you can kind of backdoor yourself to figure out what the interchange is.
David, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Steve. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Steve, what can we do for you?
Hi, I got a Ford Transit 2013. I do a lot of deliveries with it. I am known to run fuel past probably the end of its life. Anyways, I was chugging to a gas station, filled up, and I couldn't get it started. So I got it pulled to a mechanic shop, and they were saying that it needed a new engine. Would that actually cause an engine failure?
Unlikely.
No, it shouldn't unless if you've run it out of fuel so many times, you had scored fuel injectors and a pump failure, and it's been running lean because of that, and you've had a check engine light on because it's been running lean. So you've run it out of fuel a bunch of times, and now it's running lean, and that light's been on for a year.
No.
Yeah, that wouldn't cause. You could run it out of fuel as many times as you want, as long as it doesn't have a check engine light and it's running lean.
What? Well, so why would it not start for me? It would start. It would chug a little bit and then shut off on me.
Well, the engine failure could have been something separate. It might have had timing chains jump and bent valves and caused it to do that. That can happen suddenly and surprisingly. But I don't think running out of fuel shouldn't do anything. The only thing now some diesels, they don't like running out of fuel. They will score injectors and burn cylinders down when that happens. You do not want that to happen. You want to keep them fed with fuel until you turn the key off. But the gas, you should be fine.
Is this a big transit or Transit Connect?
The Connect.
So that's basically the same engine as like the
Focus.
Ford Focus, and you could have lost a timing set.
Yeah.
Super common.
Yeah, and then it's just not going to start.
Sounds like the spark plugs are out of it when you're cranking it over, and occasionally it'll pop, 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 pop.
How many miles did you get on this one?
It was 175,000.
That's pretty good. I mean, I've seen them go more. We've had them in here with 200,000+, but I don't know what's been done to them.
Right.
But I'd say that's a good chance that's something that mileage and that age that just happened.
Steve, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. I was trying to figure out there whether he was trying to appease, like let himself off the hook or let the shop off the hook. I was trying to figure out where the blame lied.
Well, he was at the bottom. He's realizing that his habit
might be
could have finally cost him more than just inconvenience.
And now we made him feel better.
Yeah, so now he'd keep doing it again. We enabled him.
Let's talk to Mike. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Mike, what can we do for you?
I have a 2011 SRX Cadillac, and the engine has a knock in it. I'm assuming it's a rod bearing. Does anybody repair those? I can't find anybody. They all want to sell an engine.
That's true, because most of these parts for these cars are not readily available. It's not like you can just go down and buy a set of pistons like you can for a 350 Chevy or a 5.3 LS series engine. This is an engine that is one that you'll find from engine rebuilders, if they even sell them, or a certified used one, like from Car Dash Part. Most of them are going to be a used engine. We run into that. So this Cadillac engine, this specific one, Toyota engines, Volkswagen, Audis, a lot of those you just can't buy from rebuilders. So your choice is a certified used engine, which is a great idea.
Is yours a 3.6 or something different?
3.6.
One thing you might consider if you're getting a knocking noise in that particular engine, how many miles have you got on it?
150.
Okay. Did you have any other like check engine lights coming on of any sort?
No.
Because if they haven't been
Not
worked
for the
on,
engine.
yeah, they haven't been worked on. Sometimes we'll actually get those that will have we talk about timing quite a bit, but they'll get the timing set wears out in them, and they'll they can make a knocking, but it's going to sound different. It's kind of a rolling knock instead of a harder knock. Is that how you describe that? Like,
I think I know what you mean.
More than a boom boom, it's more of a, like I said, it's just different. But it is, albeit it can be a knocking noise, but a lot of times that's associated also with a check engine light that comes on because it's having a hard time keeping the range of timing in play that it's supposed to have. But we've seen a lot of people drop those motors and replace the timing sets in them and then put them back up in the vehicle when it's that problem. On the 3.6, the kits are common to be replaced. But you still got to pull the motor to do it. And if you got 150,000 miles in it now, I think I would probably find a good running engine that's got 100,000 miles on it possibly and put a timing set in it before you put it in, and you'll probably be good for a long time.
Can you get a crate motor for
No.
it? No. Okay.
Mm-mm.
But I think there are remans available for those 3.6s now.
There's a few of the GM 3.6s.
Yeah,
You just can't go building your own usually.
Mike, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Kelly in Louisiana. Kelly, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Good morning, gentlemen. How y'all doing? Happy New Year.
You too.
Same to you.
Just no particular problems. Just was comments about some earlier calls. I had a 2010 Prius that the low tire light would stay on all the time, and the tires were fine. So I agree with Russ that that sensor was bad, and even the dealership said it was they had lots of problems with it. But back to 3 on the T, we all learned, growing up here in Louisiana on the farm with a 1968 Chevy step-side pickup truck. That was a great vehicle to learn to drive. Was in high school from 76 to 80, and a good friend of mine lived in the neighborhood. Had a 1961 or 1962 Chevy Impala, 2-door, green, with those fins on the back, and he had the 3 on the T, and we called it the Batmobile. It was just an awesome.
You know what? They kind of look like a Batmobile.
They sure did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fins were, on the back end, and of course, we put an 8-track tape player in that sucker and listened to the Boston 8-track tape. Anyway, that's it. Just
a little reminiscent.
Had some good.
You know what the best part of this call was? Boston.
What's that?
Boston in an 8-track. We were Boston in a cassette player.
Oh, 8-track, man. And
I had a few cars with 8-tracks in.
There was
Of course, you had to mount it under the dash.
Sure.
It was hanging down there, and Boston and Toto and Gary Wright and all that stuff. It was fun.
I think it was Boston had a track switch in the middle of a song. Did any of those stick out as
It did.
that was pretty common.
Yeah.
I mean, right in the middle of a jam, and click, click, and then they'd start to double track at some point. You had to put a matchbook, if you remember matchbook, Chris, underneath to keep it from double track. And then at some point, you just had to throw it out the window.
You could just take a little Phillips screwdriver and adjust the azimuth on the head too. That would work.
That's what you did. We did the matchbooks.
Yeah, now we tell you. I had so many 8-tracks that the thing ate the tape, and I just threw the tape out the window. You remember that? And then you had when we would drive in the 80s, it was not uncommon to see an 8-track tape or even a cassette. Remember, strung down the highway for a half a mile?
Yeah.
It was like wrapped up and I haven't seen a tape on the side of the road in decades.
Kelly, thanks very much for the call. That's all right. Now I might go down a rabbit hole here on the internet.
I think people want you to.
And try to find what album sold the most on 8-track. The best-selling 8-tracks. It's gotta be, Boston's gotta be up towards the top.
Van Halen sold a bunch of them. But then it's probably going to be something wacky like maybe Merle Haggard or something old.
Beach
probably.
Boys.
Yeah.
Pet Sounds or Best of.
Beatles.
Yeah.
How many Beatles albums were sold on 8-track?
That's a good...
8-track was just such a weird design because if you've never seen one, if you've seen one, you know what it is. But if you open it up, there's only one reel in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not two like a cassette, 1-to-1. One comes off and it rolls up on the other like an extension cord. You had one roll that to imagine a roll of masking tape. And instead of pulling the tape off the outside of it, you pull it off the inside. You pull the cardboard liner out and you pull the masking tape out. And then as you pull it and you run it through a couple pulleys and then you tape it back to the outside.
Mm-hmm.
So you're pulling it out of the center and rewrapping the outside continuously. How does this thing work? And then it's got more than one track on the tape playing.
Yeah, it is amazing
There's
how
4
good they did
tracks
sound
there.
for what he just described.
Yeah.
They were a good. I mean, they sounded just fine in the day when they were playing, but
mono you got the speakers on the back seat. I used to sit in my brother's Monte Carlo, and I thought it was cool because I'd had armrests because there were 2 house speakers in the back, and I had to sit in the middle so that they were spaced. I wanted to sit by the window, but my brother said if I moved the speaker over, they weren't spaced right, so I had to sit in the middle. Oh man!
And then the advent to cassette, it was like, oh, this is really good.
This is
the game changer though was CD.
Yeah,
when the first
sure.
CDs came out, that was like, this is it.
It
can't get any better than this.
Like 1984. Is that
about when it was?
That's when we first started getting them in at SR Superstore in Texas. We got the first shipment in. I was like, that's an 84 CD. It was a Sanyo. And all it did was CD. There was no AM, FM on it, nothing. It was just a CD player only. And then Kenwood and Alpine, they all followed with an underdash CD. And then here came the big one. It was, 85, I think.
What's the first CD you bought? Do you remember?
I do. It was a Samantha Fox CD, and I actually got it for free.
Okay.
I still remember the picture on the cover. I got that for free with the Sanyo CD player.
Okay.
And then after that, it was Ozzy Osbourne.
That was the first one you paid for?
Yeah, that was the first one I went over to.
Yeah, Purple Rain?
Yeah, I think it was.
84.
Yeah, I think it might have been. No, I might have been later. I was a later adopter than that.
I think mine was 86 or 87.
My 87 Grand National we put a CD player. Ron Sabers and I put a CD player in when we built that one.
First CD I bought was Joe Satriani, Surfing with the Alien, because we thought it would sound cool on CD, and it did. It was great.
That was.
I know that Queen Greatest Hits was the one that got played the most
on your CD player,
for sure.
Yeah,
because that's some songs that were just rock in there.
866-594-4150. Got a question on chat.
Yeah.
I have a 2002 Jeep Liberty 3.7 with another passenger side valve cover oil leak. I want to replace the valve cover. Should I go with aluminum or plastic? 2002 Jeep Liberty.
They have both available. I believe the Dorman covers are aluminum, and the reason they make them out of aluminum is because Dorman has this good habit of taking a factory part and making it better. How do they make it better? Well, they make it out of aluminum where it doesn't warp and bend like the plastic one and start to leak or get brittle and crack. It's just a better design. The same way with the intake manifolds, they make same thing. So I would go with the aluminum one in this. Okay. And I also believe that the aluminum one, they're just overall better. When you tighten them up, you're not gonna have to worry about them cracking like the plastic ones too. I've seen some people break those plastic ones. So yeah, let's just overall aluminum.
Okay. Here's another one. 2018 Ultima, about to hit 100,000 miles. I'm going to replace the antifreeze. Should I drain and replace or flush and replace along with cap replacement? 2018 Ultima.
Definitely cap replacement. Motorrad makes a good cap for that. I would definitely go with a Motorrad cap. Drain the coolant, and you can fill it. That's one option. But the best option is going to be a complete flush.
Okay.
And don't forget the thermostat. You got a thermostat that opens and closes like 1 million times in cycles. Every time it warms up or drops a couple degrees, the thermostat's moving. So it's going to break. Again, Motorrad, they make closure caps, they make thermostats. That's the way to go.
So flush the
whole thing out. You know, you got one hose off, or however you do it. A machine's the best way, but a lot of times people will have one hose off, the other one on. They're pouring the coolant in as it's coming out. You don't want to overheat it, but that's the way they do it. And I'm sure our partner over at Peak 2 would thank you if you purchase their coolant, which is a great coolant. We're using it up in our shop, so you could too.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Greg. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Greg, what can we do for you?
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. I've got a question. I've got a 2017 C7 Corvette, and of course I put it away for the winter. Now, I'm under the impression I should change the oil before I put it away. I'd rather have fresh oil in there. Now, a few of my friends, they say, I'm going to wait till the springtime. I was just curious as to what your thoughts were.
I think everybody does it a little different. All three of us would probably give you a different answer, but for me, I'm fine. If you want to change it in the fall, you can change it in the fall and then just hop in the spring and drive it. You could wait until the spring and change it then. You're leaving all that dirty oil in there over the winter while it sits, and you're going to have the sediment as it settles to the bottom. That's going to be in there too. So I prefer to change it in the fall. And then in the spring, I go, it's a good day. Let's go for a drive. I got to change the oil first. No, just go for a drive. But the one thing you want to do no matter when you change that oil, we were talking about storage earlier, Chris was on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Don't start the car up for a minute or two in the winter and shut it off and let it sit. Drive it. Make sure it's good and warm. You've been driving it for an hour, running on the highway, whatever, around town, good and hot. All the moisture burned out of the oil when you shut that switch off and the car is parked. If you start it up and move it short periods, condensation is going to build up in there, and then you're going to get sludge and stuff you don't want. So
what if I just have to move it a little? I mean,
if you fire it up
I'm
for
freaking out because of this conversation
10 seconds
we've
and
had
move
for
it,
20 years.
you're probably okay. But if you're the person who starts it up and says, I'm just going to run it for a few minutes here just to make sure everything's moving, that's not good. Because as soon as that cylinder starts heating up, that oil starts warming up, it's a different temperature than outside. So the cold parts of the engine are going to start to condensate moisture. Water is going to condensate on those cold parts versus the hot parts that's hot and steamy.
I get so inside my head on that, and I start to work. Well, I can't go. If I'm going to move it, I better go drive it. And then I think, but then I got to put gas back in it. And
Greg, is it in temperature controlled storage?
No, it's just in a garage, so it's basically warm in there.
Yeah, but is there a heater in there?
Is it 50 in there, or is it ambient temperature?
Whatever the garage temperature is, that's what it is.
Okay, so no heater, just cold.
Yeah, I see. If I knew for sure it was in temperature controlled storage and you weren't going to be getting big hot cycles, cold cycles on it, I would be definitely like Russ. I'd be changing it before I put it away, and then be good to go with a smile on my face when the weather finally gets good enough that we can drive it again.
Go out and just get in it and go.
Go. Yeah, but if you're in a cold storage where you're having different heat cycles put through it, and that's where it has to be. I know there's a lot of people that would subscribe to going in the spring when you take it out, because you've had possibly moisture build up in the oil just because of the hot and cold cycles of the of the metal components sitting in cold storage.
Right. 866-594-4150. I would like to get, I'm going to try something. You guys, you should back me on this. The show car, the one that I'm waiting for, let's get the all-wheel drive C8 and the one that goes up and down. I'll put it at its highest setting and I'll drive it all winter. You see any flaws with that? I don't think anybody.
You've been thinking.
I'm listening
You've
to
been
people.
thinking a lot.
Corvette drivers listening, they're all like, yeah, no, that sounds great. You should do that.
Well, and if you didn't pay for it, that sounds like a great idea.
Well, I mean, it's a good experiment.
You ever tried to drive a Corvette on the snow there, Chris?
No, I have not.
Or a Firebird or Camaro, anything with really wide tires?
That'll do it for this hour of the Under the Hood Show. Thanks for listening. I don't see any flaw. I think most people will back this idea.
Well,
I
so
think,
far this winter, you're good for the most part.
yeah, that's true. That's what I'm looking for with my my replacement fun car. I want to replace my car.
It
with
always comes. The last few years around here, it's been like the second week of January.
Yeah, it has. We've had at
And
least last year for sure.
I want a repeat of last year. I don't know. I mean, I'm okay with the spring rains because I've got a roof now. But they killed me last year. I mean, it was go rain and rain and rain and rain, but it was great. Everything was green. But that snow came like I think it was the third week of January, and it was only here for like 3 weeks, and then it was like, where'd it go? And then it thawed out, and it was cold and warm and cold and warm, but it was like, hey, a little bit of snow. That's great.
Yep, that's about how long our snowmobile season was.
Yeah.
It's just crazy
Put
how
600
short.
miles on as quick as we could on the trails around here.
There was a recent year, I don't remember if it was last year or a few years ago, where I just hadn't put my car away at all, and I drove it on Christmas Eve because I was just still driving it. It just was not. It was 55 degrees or 56, whatever it was. I hadn't even considered putting it away yet because we just hadn't had any winter, and that we're kind of there this year. We've had some cold, not really yet here.
Oh, this next week. It's
Yeah,
like
it's gonna-
0 to what is it, 4 or 5 degrees for a high a couple days.
Yeah, we're gonna have some coldness.
I'm still right now. I'm still at the point where I don't think I'm not that worried about parking in the garage or having a remote starter.
Yeah.
But in about like a week or two, I'll be
You're
like,
gonna
why
say,
didn't I do that?
It's going to
a
change. Your
month
perspective is
ago?
going to
Yeah.
change dramatically when they're 18, 20 below wind chills coming up here. So,
all right, we're going to be at Barrett Jackson this month.
We are. It's on the Friday, the 24th. It'll be at 1 p.m. Central Time because they're a couple hours behind us. So, because we're going to be doing the show a little earlier. So we're just going to tell you, we'll start off the right way and do it. It's 1 p.m. Central. You figure out the times from there.
I'm sitting here figuring out in my head.
It's Phoenix.
So we're starting there at
Scottsdale.
11.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. So Phoenix, Scottsdale, but we're going to go there, do the live show. You'll be able to call us like you did last time. We'll call you out if you've left us a message on Thursday and went, oh my gosh, you guys aren't doing the show. Yeah. So we'll be in the air. Not on the air, in the air. Ooh.
On the air. I am the air.
Coming in the air. Okay. Anyways. Yeah. Phil Collins.
Yeah,
very excited about doing this again, and Berkeley One Classics is
This is
is
the big
happy
show.
to have us. Yeah.
This is I mean, the other one's a big show, but this is the big show. And it says they're having, when I got on to register for the media credentials, it asked me if I wanted to register for January or the fall 25 auction. So it looks like they're having a fall 25 auction again.
Did you see the week before we get there? What time the Barrett Jackson stuff starts?
Sunday.
Yeah,
I think it's Sunday night before the auction. So
I think it starts on the 17th or something.
It does. It starts Thursday night before we're there. So the 16th?
Saturday. You're right. The weekend before.
Yeah, and they start selling cars on Tuesday.
On Thursday the 16th, Sammy Hagar's performing the week before we're there. I think I saw that. That it's
Well, we're gonna miss that.
yeah, by a week. Because there's a lot of stuff going down there in January.
And I think they start selling automobilia on Monday.
Okay.
So when we were down there last time, Russ, you're probably ready to say the same thing. They sold, give or take, 900 vehicles. For this sale, the big one, they'll sell over 2,000 vehicles throughout the course of the auction. So that's double.
More days,
a
longer
lot.
sessions.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to crank them out.
Let's see. January 17th, Friday night. Sammy Hagar will be performing. So it's the 17th, and then we'll be down there the next Thursday and Friday. And I'll do a couple tunes. I'll do Hibbs tunes. I'll do like Where Eagles Fly And not I can't drive 55. That's too specific. That's
overplayed.
Yeah. Well, it's his. That's his signature. That's like Frank Sinatra in My Way. You know, I couldn't do that. But there's a couple I could do. Heavy metal. I could play that one. All right. Anything else? What else we got?
That's pretty big.
Yeah.
And we're all here. We, you know, at the end of the year there, you were gone. We were just we had our Christmas break and kind of get our groove back on here again a little bit.
That's us. Groove.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have to take a break to go to Arizona.
Yeah. But
After
we're going to
just a few.
But we're still doing a show.
Yeah. By the way, if you're going to be down there, come on by because it's super fun. There was people hanging out and asking questions live.
Are we in the same
roving
spot?
mic.
Yeah, same spot in the Equidome, which is the horse place in the back. Well, it's really not in the back.
No, it's
on the side.
One of their vehicle storage areas. There's
Yeah.
cool vehicles sitting around us.
It's the stage they use at night because every night there's like a party back there and there's a band playing on that stage. So if you're standing where the cars come in the front door to go to the stage, and you're standing there facing the stage, you go, oh, here come the cars. Look to the right. We'll be right there in that room.
Last year they had a yacht rock band. I hope they have a yacht. I wish I would have gone over and seen more of them.
Yeah, that would have been great. But
Yeah.
we should have stayed. That would have been great.
You got to remember to get a sign.
Yeah, let's get the
just
sign.
get one when we're down there again. Just run over to Insty Prints.
I just rather take it all with us.
Uh-huh.
That was crazy money for that sign. We could have maybe it's still laying there in front of the.
It might still be there. They said just it's
I doubt
fine.
They're
never
still
know.
set up, but
Yeah.
I don't. Hey, are these guys going to be here? Yes. If we bring a sign with us, it'll be there.
Was the time right?
Yeah, it's 11
Okay.
a.m.
Yeah,
Friday.
11 a.m. local time.
Yeah, so it's going to be 11 a.m. Friday. Maybe that'll be our tradition from going on now. Every time we go to Barrett Jackson, it'll be 11 a.m. So
I like it. All right, there you go. If you want, you can send us a message on Facebook. If we can call you then, or you're going to be down there, let us know. But if we can call you on Friday the 23rd for the show, go give us a message on Facebook and we'll set it up. We're saving those. Someone
Especially
else
if you
has
got
it written down
if you got a classic car question,
Yeah.
that's the time to do it.
for sure. All right, there we go. Thanks everybody. Thanks for watching the Under the Hood show. If you're watching, if you're watching right now, you're on YouTube.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, so never mind.
You're
Forget
not
I said that.
Not watching on the radio.
Click subscribe and or like and click the button. Do all those things. The bell and
Put some comments down there. If there's a
Yeah.
video you're wanting to see, the stuff we talk about, if you want to see us in the shop, how you do it, then you comments on the video right
There you
here.
go.
Tell us what you
Signs
want.
of life. We need signs of life.
Yeah, everyone needs it, or they cart you off.
Yep.
I've learned that. When I'm real still, I'm real zen. I have a really good. I can sit still for a long time.
So you think you could sit in my office long enough that the lights would go off?
No, I could not. I'm a fidgeter.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. When I sleep, I don't even sleep.
He's a fidgeting zen.
Yeah, something's always going. At least my eye. I have a twitchy eye this week, and now I'm trying to solve that. It's always something. All right, see you. Thanks very much.